I shall try reading around in a play called Jim Dandy. This is a play that hasn't had a production in New York. Now it says here, Jim Dandy, Act 1, Scene 1. And then it says, Jim Dandy takes place in all or part of a transparent eggshell, which is broken and open along one side. Inside the shell are miserable and majestic ruins. These ruins represent immemorial and immediate reality, as thrown together by time, nature, art, religion, labor, science, invention, plan, accident, violence of war, and wear and tear of weather. That's quite a set, but that isn't all. Now the play happens as if everybody in it had survived pestilence, famine, ignorance, injustice, inhumanity, torture, crime, and madness. In short, as if everybody in it were human. Prolonged suffering has given everybody in the play dignity, humor, and simplicity. Everybody in the play is a miracle. There are many, many more pages of that sort of high-flown. And later on, the play begins, and a man named Jock announces the beginning of the play somewhat as follows. Papa's in jail, Mama's on bail, baby's on the corner shouting, Papa's for sale. And then Gibbon, who's half man and half ape, says, hey, Bobbery Bob. Whereupon Jock collapses, and Gibbon says, what's the matter, Bob? Now, they get up and begin to throw kisses to the librarian, a woman named Flora, to which she makes this remark. Mustn't throw kisses in the public library. Now later on, a lot of themes are stated, and a great deal of orchestration is called for. And a fellow named Jim Smither, who's in a jail, sings a song to which there is no music, entitled, Nobody Loves a Man in Jail. Now I can read the second stanza. Nobody loves the poor outlaw. Nobody loves the man who fell. Nobody knows what heaven is until he's been in hell. Now this man is to be hung in the morning. And in the play, he is hung in the morning. And nobody speaks up for him. Nobody says that he is, as he himself says, innocent. He is innocent. But he is hung. And that is the problem. A man's life is taken from him. And that means that any survivors are answerable. Now, I think I'll read Jim Smithers' final words insofar as this play is concerned. Now, he says something like these words in the world itself every day. We have come to the end of scene 1, and there's a great deal of gladness upon the stage and among the ruins. But Smither, who knows he's to be hung in the morning, says, I'm innocent. I swear to God I'm innocent. I swear on my mother I'm as innocent as any man in the world. I love everybody. For God's sake, somebody tell them I'm innocent. Somebody speak up for me. Don't let them hang an innocent man. I have given money to the poor. I'm innocent. I'm innocent. Now, the curtain comes down, and naturally, that's the end of scene 1. Scene 2 has this in the book that I'm holding. The scene is the same, except that everything in it has changed just a little and moved a little, forward or backward or nearer center. There's a good deal of descriptive stuff here. And then there's an American Indian who calls himself the Maharaja. He sells secrets for 5 cents each. And at the beginning of scene 2, there's a great deal of quietude all about. The confusion. The human race at that moment is lost in a kind of reverie. And the old Maharaja, this American Indian who wears a turban and acts as if he knows something, is looking up, and he says these things. I look into the heavens, and what do I see? I see flat on his feet, far below and far away, yet nearer than the inside of outside, the perfect, defective thing whose breed is man, whose name is Jim, whose time is now, whose hope is love, whose fortune is life, whose reward is death, whose purpose is replenishment, whose pleasure is to quench thirst and satisfy hunger, whose best scheme is to dream and forget. I am that man, and I'm rolling a cigarette. I am that perfect, defective thing which can't remember and can't forget. An Indian of the Cherokee tribe, I wore the turban of the Hindu mystic, called myself Maharaja, and sold secrets. Not long ago, to heal myself of the schooling I was given at the Indian Institute, I joined the circus, worked as roustabout and caretaker of apes. In the eyes of one of them I saw a brother and an orphan, rescued him and set him free, given here at my feet. I took his wagon cage and made it home, traveling the plains until the wheels fell off and I settled here. I look into the heavens and see myself, Jim the honest fake, Jim the wide awake, the cheerful cheat, cheering from both feet, Jim the schemer, the dying dreamer, the monkey mystic, Christian and cannibalistic, the noble knave, gentle and brave, the liar, swindler, confidence man, snake in the grass. Give me a coin, and I'll say your fairest dreams shall all come to pass, but why not? I do it in the absence of better science. I do it in the interim while we wait. I had 3 secrets and sold them all, changed my business and put in a new stock of merchandise, ice cream. My secrets were precious, for they were well known. The first was love, repeated 3 times. Love, love, love. It was a bargain, and yet my customers complained and said I had cheated them. Still, love is the best secret there is, and I did not cheat them. If they had known the secret, they had not known it was the secret I was selling, and therefore they needed it. I'm satisfied that I gave full value. Now, the second secret was patience. I learned that secret from rocks and ruins. Another bargain. But again, my customers complained, for who does not know the wisdom of patience? Rocks and ruins revealed the second secret, but the rose taught me the third. A secret of 3 words. In many ways, it was the biggest bargain of all, but still my customers complained. The rose said to me, and I said to my customers who bought the secret, be, beget, be gone. That finished the secret business. Now I sell fortunes and forecasts and ice cream. Why not? I enjoy the work. Oila, shoila, boila, come along, step up and get your fortune told. Uban, duban, dulululu. Hey, Fishkin, I can be of help to you. Now that's the little speech that the Indian makes there. I've never heard it done. I dare say it can be done as if it were something not entirely insane. There's a moment later in this Scene 2, in which a postman arrives and hands a character named Jim Dandy, a very fat man, a bundle of letters. He comes from nowhere, the postman does, and he brings letters to a man who has come from nowhere, and that's precisely as it should be. Now, Jim Dandy has his own friend and attendant, Jim Crow to read to him. So Jim Crow opens a letter and he reads as follows. Letter from Juliet. She say, my dear husband, my life, my love, my darling, if you could only know how I need money. Now, at this point, Jim Dandy, in despair, because the need here again is that rubbishy need of so many of us. And he has a cricket that he carries about with him, and he makes the sound which means to Jim Crow that he is to stop reading. The sound is the sound of the cricket. It's a little metal device that was purchasable from Woolworth's, 30 or 40 years ago for 5 cents for 2 of them. Clickety-clack. Now, therefore, Jim Crow must open another letter and read from that letter, which he does. Letter from the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. The Society say, in order to protect our fellow animals of the city, field, and farm from the inhuman treatment they are getting, we must have more and more money. Clickety-clack. So therefore, Jim Crow must open another envelope and bring out another letter to read to the old boy, the fat boy, Jim Dandy. This letter goes thus. Jim Crow says, another letter from Juliet. She say, sweet, sweet husband, heart of my heart, if I could only tell you how very much I need. Now, poor old fat Jim Dandy, he looks into Jim Crow's eyes to find out is it possible she wants love this time, or is she still begging for money? And of course, she's still begging for money, so he gives it the old clickety-clack, and Jim Crow opens another letter. And he reads, letter from the Peace on Earth, Goodwill Among Men League, Incorporated. The League say, in order to protect our fellow man in city, village, factory, mine, field, and farm, we appeal to you before it is too late to send us a little money, clickety-clack, naturally. Carry on the good work and pay the rent, clickety-clack. By now, Jim Dandy is almost in tears. So Jim Crow opens another letter and he begins to explain this one. He says, letter from the Citizens Committee on Control of Atomic Energy, incorporated under the laws of the state of Delaware. The committee say, we must have more money in order to clickety-clack. Letter from the mothers, wives, daughters, sisters, aunts, and sweethearts of growing boys and men killed, injured, or driven mad in World War I and World War II, incorporated. They say, now or never, we must have more clickety-clack. So Jim Crow opens another letter. Letter from, he begins to say, but old Jim Dandy gives him clickety-clack. Finally, Jim Crow has gone through the bundle and he says, that's all, Mr. Jim Dandy. This here letter is from Mr. Jim Smither, the man they hung this morning. Clickety-clack. This time, clickety-clack means for Jim Crow to open the letter to Mr. Jim Smither, the hung man. Now, Jim Crow opens this letter, and he looks up at Jim Dandy, and he says, this here letter is from ex-jockey Earl Catfoot. And Jim Dandy says, I beg your pardon? And Jim Crow says, ex-jockey Earl Catfoot. That's what it says right here on the top of the page. Jim Dandy says, blow your horn, please. Now, he carries a horn, Jim Crow does, and he blows the horn. And then Jim Dandy says, what does the man say? What does ex-jockey Earl Catfoot say? So Jim Crow reads, and he says, he say, win your Christmas money now. Jim Dandy says, win your Christmas money now? Jim Crow says, yes, sir. Win your Christmas money now. That's what it says right here. Win money. Win money. That's what everybody needs, money. Christmas money, or Easter money, or Thanksgiving money, or 4th of July money, or Lincoln's birthday money, or Confederate money, or counterfeit money. Any kind of money. Everybody got to win some, or find some, or inherit some, or make some on a machine. I know we ain't got no more money. I give the man in the wagon our last nickel for a secret. I did it when they took my friend away and hanged him. I did it because I thought the secret would tell us why they did that. Everything was going good. And then everything fell to little old crying pieces, and I bought the secret because I thought it would tell us why it happened that way. But all the secret said was patience. Now what kind of a secret is patience? What good is patience to the man they hanged? What we need was money. By the time the letter came telling him how to get money, it was too late. The letter came too late for the poor man. We need money too. Ex-jockey Earl Catfoot, he don't come asking for money like the man in the wagon and the society and the league and the committee and the mothers and Juliet. He say, win it. Clickety-clack. Jim Dandy. Read on, please. Now he reads on, but there's no point in my trying to read on with him because this is a long play. And the best I'll be able to do is to move on for a while and get along to some of the other episodes. I might even go so far as to turn to scene 3, if there is such a scene. There may be. Now, let me just see here. There's so many pages I'm turning full of fine writing, and I gotta lose it all. Well, it comes to Act 2. Now, Act 2, it could now be another century and another world. I'm reading from the printed page here. But it is still the same century and the same world, although things have changed and moved again. Now, Jim Dandy is asleep in his chair. His lips are moist, and he's making noises with his breathing, and enormous noises, as if he were mankind itself asleep. He mumbles in a mixture of languages. He sighs, groans, sobs, hums, sings, whistles, trembles, stiffens, and so on and so forth. Alif, Ba, Ta, Ha, Wa, Ha, Da, Hi, Lo, Neta, Yet, Yet, Shin, Shin, Shad, Ram, Mim, Nun. Now, the purpose here, of course, is, rather than to have me demonstrate how difficult it is for this play to be performed, is to make known the community of languages and the oneness of life through these simple sounds which seem to have emerged from sleep into wakefulness and are said again in sleep by people of any language, including the one sound here that he says later on, Arev, Arev, which means, in my own language, the sun, the sun. And he also says Niet, Niet, and then Da, Da, Da. And he says Row, 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 Rig, Jig, Jig, Cha-la-la-la-la-la, Olan, Kith. Then he whistles a portion of Careless Love. Now, these things have a purpose in the play which can't quite be made manifest here. It may do, however, to read Jim Crow's lines, or perhaps I better get to another character. We've done quite a bit of his. I'll get to a little talk that was made by Johnny. Jim Dandy in his sleep is saying, moaning, Juliet, my wife, Johnny. This is a young fellow, this Johnny. He's in the public library, too, throwing paper airplanes at the librarian. Is this what became of us? Where are the pals I was to bring together into the best nation yet? Where are the girls who were to be the best religion? The girls who woke up in the morning like flowers, who were sculptured swift and white and put laughter into the dirty streets. Where are the girls who danced in and out of the great ideas and turned them into common folklore? Who understood cause and effect, supply and demand, wealth and poverty, society and nature, health and disease, dream and reality, science and sorcery? What happened to the girls? Where are they now who are beyond pride or shame and didn't need the help of beauty parlor, patent medicine, equal rights, or psychiatry? Where are they on bicycles in open roadsters, riding through the junkyard world and having all the fun I thought was going to come to something better than this? Youth in ruins, science and crime in partnership, the management of the affairs of men left to imbeciles, impostors, knaves, and maniacs, mankind a sickly suicide writing his foolish farewell note, and the poet standing around with his mouth open. I thought I knew. I thought I knew. But now I know I don't. Where's the running girl who ran like the loveliest animal in the animal world to the boy who knew what he was going to do? Where is she now, and where's he? Where's the poet, immaculate in the gutter, and his pals, working their way with him to the best nation yet? The pals who sent letters to men in prisons far away, or to politicians around the corner. The corner where the coroner was. To the very emperor, Jim, you'll drag yourself to the grave if you don't behave. Traffic no more to that humble slave, for he is more emperor than you and better born. To the very queen, Peg, are you sold to the pretender? Will you never wrestle with a working man? I hang out in the back room at the Broken Bell. Come there as yourself and raise a little wholesome hair. I wear a face and a dog's hide. Come for the healing and the buggy ride. You see, it's so difficult to read most of this stuff because it's bad. But some of it isn't. To the very beggar, Hodge, I ask alms of you. Turn out of your vaults the wicked hoarding of my precious gifts. I gave you on a scorn, now give it back, for I gave it when I was young, and it gave you greatness. Write my name in your will, it's only fair. I'll remember where you fell in the street and put flowers there. To the hero assassin, Ed, now as you take the electric throne and rule the rightening realm of wrong, remember Johnny B. of Avenue A. I saw you slip the sword into the enemy heart, but I only laughed and told no one. It was you who blabbed and bragged yourself into fame and shame in the metal hat. Was it worth it, man? What fun, what glory's in a throne like that? Where's the poet? Filthy in the fiction room, winking at the printed page, or in the corridor, bowing to Bill Blake, flapping down the hall to the reference room, filthy and free. Where's he now? So this is the common man home from the war, his pals dead or mad, the best nation lost, the girls dying beyond bedroom doors, or run away from home, or batting in the public library. So this is kingdom come, so this is us. So these are the angels who walk like men. Well, anyway, we gave it a go. We moved that way a dozen years or so. We almost made it. Almost. And then the party voted. Well, they voted for me, but I don't want their friendship. Friendship's so inept and false. At any rate, whose friendship's for sale today, and what's the price? 5 cents? Mine I'll give away. Now I want nothing else, only a quiet evening in the ruins, for I'll never make it any more. Now that was a long and difficult speech for any young actor to be hoping to make, but if he tries hard, he can do it. And if he has no sinus trouble of any kind, as I do, he may even add something to the value of the lines and make them mean something more than nothing. The play goes on in this manner, and if there were an audience there in the theater, they would long since be saying to themselves, and I'm sure that they are mistaken in this play doesn't mean anything. Now, it certainly does mean something. I'm not going to say what it does mean because I've been very busy lately and I haven't the time. It might take me the better part of the month. Now, to close the thing, we'll get over to the old man. He's something like Walt Whitman, and they tell him they're playing a game now, these fellas in the public library in the rooms, and they say, prisoner. He's a prisoner, too, like Jim Smither, who was hung, but he wasn't hung. They broke him loose. Jim Dandy got him out of jail. So they tell him, prisoner, what is poetry? And this man's name, who is Jack Adams instead of Jim Smithers, says, thank you, manager, for I am a writer of poems. I say poetry is passion that kills with kissing. For here I am cooped in a cage, who told them on the printed page to live and love, and taught them the measures of abundance and replenishment, the way of escape from famine and fear. Old now and lunatic, they say, I'm held in this coffin, buried alive and deprived of the happy death I worked for all my life. You, my friends, did not put me in this shameful grave, but you did not stop the evil machinery that did. You say my name every day as though it were the name for bread. Before you say that name again, I shall be truly dead. Now, to write a poem, to live a poem, is not grace alone, but grace and disgrace. And no man breathes who is not in his own poor person, both poet and poem. Of course, he would read it just a little bit more effectively, I'm sure. That is to say, if you got a good actor to do the part. Thank you for your kindness in allowing me to speak, but faster, faster, as the young man says, do not hold up the play. Do not let the wonder of it get away. Now, this is a kind of parable play, and except for some lapses, that is to say, some extreme lapses, the entire play is a lapse of some sort, as it would be bound to be if it were any good at all. Except for some extreme lapses, the play is a fine play and should be done on a very, very enormous stage. The opera in New York would be a suitable place, and of course it should have ballet and music by the best people. In the meantime, I will read just at the end here what it says at the beginning. Jim Dandy, fat man in a famine, a play. And then the quotation is as follows, which somewhat sums up the play. He knew the truth and was looking for something better. Now, the meaning of that, of course, I may say, is that truth is to be created, too. Not merely to be accepted or uncovered. It's to be created. That must be understood. That is a very necessary point to be made. Truth must be created. Every man is a good man in a bad world. No man changes the world. Every man himself changes from good to bad, or from bad to good, back and forth, all his life, and then dies. But no matter how or why or when a man changes, he remains a good man in a bad world, as he himself knows. All his life a man fights death, and then at last loses the fight, always having known he would. Loneliness is every man's portion and failure. The man who seeks to escape from loneliness is a lunatic. The man who does not know that all is failure is a fool. The man who does not laugh at these things is a bore. But the lunatic is a good man, and so is the fool, and so is the bore, as each of them knows. Every man is innocent, and in the end a lonely lunatic, a lonely fool, or a lonely bore My grandmother Lucy, to illustrate the awful loveliness of faith in God and the absurdity of despair, tells the story of the carpenter of many hundreds of years ago who, on his way home one evening, was stopped by a friend who said, "My brother, why are you so down in face?" "You too would feel as I do," the carpenter said, "if you were in my position." "Well, what is it?" his friend said. By tomorrow morning," the carpenter said, "I must have 11,111 pounds of fine hardwood sawdust for the king, or I will lose my head." A fantastic number of pounds is involved there. 11,111 pounds is my own invention. He just needed a lot of sawdust. Well, the carpenter's friend smiled, and he put his arm around the carpenter, and he said, "My friend, be light of heart. Let us go and eat and drink and forget tomorrow." Act One says, "There's very little light in the sunroom at the end of Ward 3 in the city hospital at the top of Legion of Honor Hill in San Francisco. These men are in this hospital because they have an incurable disease. It might be cancer. And they want to find out how to die. And it's a long play and hard to do. Hard to listen to, too. It builds up very slowly, and you have to be willing to put up with it. Rather depressing play, too, as I notice here as I turn the pages. Greedy Reed is a Negro, and Andy Boy is a Chinese boy, and Greedy Reed wants to find a job, an action that can make sense, and he decides that the only job for him and for the others there is to read every word in the big dictionary that is on the shelf. And Greedy Reed says to Andy Boy, "Now here's this big book right here in my hands, the Holy Dictionary, full of all the words in the world. I get to understand the words. Andy Boy, you've been to high school right here in San Francisco. I know you can read. Now read the dictionary to me." And Andy Boy says, "The whole dictionary?" And Greedy Reed says, "Sure, Andy Boy. Every word in the Holy Dictionary, one by one. I've been greedy for food, for money, for clothes, for women and fun and everything else. Now I'm greedy for words. I'm greedy for understanding. Man, look at all the words right here on the first page. Look at all the beautiful words. Do us good to read the words, Andy Boy." Andy Boy, he says, "Take a month to read the whole dictionary." Greedy Reed says, "Take more than a month, Andy Boy. Take 3 months, maybe 4. 3 or 4 beautiful months with the dictionary, Andy Boy. Come on, read me the first word. Words better than cards any day, Andy Boy. Words tell us who we are, what we are doing, where we are going. Now here, Andy Boy, here's the first word right here. What is it?" Andy Boy reads, "A." Greedy Reed says, "A. Now we're on our way, Andy Boy. Read about A to me. What do A mean?" Andy Boy reads from the dictionary and he says, "A. The first letter of the alphabet in most of the known languages of the earth. In the Ethiopic, however, it is the 13th. And Greedy Reed says, "Now wait a minute, in the what?" And Andy says, "The Ethiopic. That's a language of some kind, I guess." And Greedy Reed says, "What language that?" And Andy says, "The Ethiopian, I guess." And Greedy Reed says, "You talking about that man in Africa?" And Andy Boy says, "What man in Africa?" Greedy Reed says, "That skinny man with the whiskers. Posio, who that man in Africa with the whiskers?" And Posio says, "I don't know." And Greedy Reed says, "Andy Boy, you remember before the war a country someplace in Africa that Mussolini take away from that man with the whiskers?" Andy says, "I don't remember." Greedy Reed shakes Georgie Porgy. He's asleep. And Greedy Reed says, "Hey, Georgie Porgy, you awake?" And Georgie Porgy sits up with a start, and he's a little upset. "What's the matter?" And Greedy Reed says, Andy boy reading me the dictionary. We're working on the first word right now. And Georgie Porgy says, oh, for the love of Mike. I was fast asleep. I dreamed I was drinking Coca-Cola. What do you want? And Greedy Reed says, who that man in Africa with the whiskers that Mussolini attacked with his army and take away his house and tigers and country? And Georgie Porgy says, what the hell are you talking about? House and tigers and country? You mean Haile Selassie? And Greedy Reed says, yeah, that's the man. That Ethiopic. Is that his language? And Georgie Porgy says, I guess so. What difference does that make? Greedy Reed says, he was the king of some kind of black people in Africa. That Ethiopic, is that the language of the black people? And Georgie Porgy says, I guess it's the language of some kind of black people. Why? What are you so excited about? And Greedy Reed says, Andy boy, read about that A again for Georgie Porgy so he know why I excited this way. So then Andy boy reads, and he says, A, the first letter of the alphabet in most of the known languages of the earth. In the Ethiopic, however, it is the 13th. And Greedy says, hear that, Georgie Porgy? Well, what does 13 mean? And Georgie Porgy says, if you're superstitious, 13 means bad luck. And Greedy Reed says, everybody's superstitious. Georgie Porgy says, if you're not superstitious, every number means bad luck. And Greedy Reed says, what do you mean every number means bad luck? I hear 13 the unlucky number. And Georgie Porgy says, oh, let me go back to sleep, would you? I was sitting on a porch in the summertime listening to carpenters building a house, hammering nails into wood far away. And I was drinking a bottle of Coca-Cola. You come and shake me right out of the best dream I ever had. And Greedy says, I'm sorry I wake you out of that nice dream, Georgie Porgy. You sure 13 ain't the unlucky number? And Georgie says, okay, have it your way. 13 is the unlucky number. Now leave me alone, will you? And Greedy says, oh, man, don't get mad. And Georgie says, go ahead, read the dictionary. I'm wide awake now. So Greedy says, I'm sorry I spoiled your nice dream, Georgie Porgy. And Georgie says, forget it. Maybe if you didn't wake me up, I wouldn't remember the dream, and then where would I be? And Greedy says, you all right now? And Georgie says, sure. Greedy says, you want me to tell you about 13? And Georgie says, sure. Greedy says, what do that number mean? I got to know before I go on reading the dictionary. What do it mean? And Georgie says, nothing. It's the number between 12 and 14. And Greedy says, you sure? Well, this goes on too long. I mean, it keeps going on and on and on, and it's all right, but it takes too long. It should be with the characters themselves so that anybody might be able to understand it. Now, I think I had better point out that the story that was told about the carpenter that was left suspended ends with an all-night celebration, food and drink, song and dance, at the home of the carpenter. And then at daybreak, the carpenter says, well, here it is morning, and I have failed. I have no sawdust at all for the king, and so my life must end. But still his friend said, be light of heart. Be light of heart. Now at that moment, there came a knocking at the door. And of course, everyone believed that it was the soldiers of the king come to take the carpenter, to take him to his death. And when the door was opened, it was the soldiers of the king. But they said these words, Carpenter, the king is dead. We have come to ask you to make him a coffin. That's the end of that story. Now, I would like to try to read from my first book, something that I haven't read in perhaps 20 years, called Common Prayer. I have another prayer in another book, which I can't find at the moment, which I had hoped to read too, because the two go together. Still, I can read this one, Common Prayer. The plains, Lord, and all the silences of mind, lost corridors, pillars, the places where we walked, the faces we saw, and the singing of little children. But most of all, hieroglyphics, the holiness, the figure in stone, the simple line, our language, the articulated curve of leaf, dream, and smile, the fall of hand, love of universes, no fear, and some longing. And the light, our sun, Lord, and the sun of unknown men, the mornings lost in time, a man named Bach, a man named Cézanne, and the others with forgotten names. The multitudes now come together as one, now nameless. Our face, the mourning, the grieving of the unknown mob, our form and our stature. Men walking in the light in all the places. Asia to begin with, and then Europe and Africa, and across the sea, across that sea of mind and water, the Atlantic. Westward to this place, America, in the grinning pale face of Wilson. Freedom for Lithuania. Hail Poland, and hail the counties of Texas. Sweet melons and oil, our thanks, Lord. And for numbers, so that a record of our grief might be made. 1 for sorrow, 2 for pain, 3 for madness, and 1,000 and 10,000, and the reckoning of eternity. The eyes of Einstein, let us say, the fingers of the great Polish pianist. Let us assume all things numerically. The wealth of Ford, the wealth of Mellon. The poverty of who, shall we say? Ezra? The poverty of Ezra Pound, shall we say? Or shall we say the poverty of the unknown, the nameless, the young man of Clay County, Iowa, sitting alone, writing stories for the Saturday Evening Post. Thank you, Lord, for numbers. Thank you, Lord, for light. Thank you, Lord, for hieroglyphics. And thank you, Lord, even for poverty. For there is none. There can never be any. It is all wealth. There are no poor in the light. Thank you, Lord. Now I'll try to read a little more from the novel called Rock Wagram, which of course should be pronounced Rock Bagram, being an English or American variant of the name Arak Bagramian. This is more of the stuff that's in italics, which means that it's the stuff that many readers prefer to skip because it doesn't carry the story forward insofar as the story may be considered to be a matter of plot. Every man's life means more than any other man may ever guess or suspect, more than any man himself may ever guess or suspect, as he himself knows. The mystery of every man is a full-grown thing while he is still in his mother's womb. To live, to go on living, is to have this full-grown thing worn away by time until nothing is left. As the wearing away proceeds, the meaning of a man's life goes farther and farther past knowing or guessing, until meaning and no meaning are one and the same thing. What does a man mean, for instance? What does he mean sitting in a poker game at 2 in the morning, What does he mean, carrying this full-grown but vanishing thing to the cards and to their values? Does he mean that it is he who is the lucky one? Does his sitting there mean he is drawing nearer with each hand dealt to fatherhood and proud unimportance, to love and fun, to health and gladness? Does it mean that if he makes a heart flush, the war will end by morning? Does it mean that if he draws to two pair and makes a full house, his children will be handsome and have fine hearts and strong minds? Does it mean that if he is dealt a Pat Queen high straight, the girl he marries will be the one woman in the world to send him by accident to the best end he could ever reach? Now, these passages in italics occur in the novel at the beginning of every chapter. Chapters being short, there's a lot of these passages. I'm just going to turn a few pages at random, remarking in the meantime that I am speaking with a rather heavy cold in the head, nasal passages, throat, lungs. Whatever the time of him, a man is his own poor friend, his own proud stranger, his own cunning enemy, watching with sharp eyes his mother's own son. It is himself who is the luckiest man, as he himself knows. Now, I may say that this phrase, as he himself knows, runs all the way through the italicized passages of the novel. The implication being that every man, however simple, however uninvolved, unevolved, knows his destiny, knows it deeply, knows it by instinct. Now, to go on with this passage, it is his own half words and half acts, left in half places at half times, that grow whole in all men, winking in them and winking in their children. For a man is the race. Every one of him is the race, and each is good, each is innocent, and each is winked into his own innocence, as he himself knows. A man lives out his time in secret, leaving behind no word of what he was or did or knew, or leaving only half a word mixed with coughing or laughter, or half an act of dancing on the floor of his own mother's kitchen when he was 5 and loved the promise of time and the whole world. Now, that's the end of that one. But I'll turn along and get a later one. Let's see now. We come here. Perhaps I can find the one that I really want to read, which is a rather long one. Yeah. No? Oh, yeah, this is it. This will probably conclude any reading that I am apt to do. This is near the end of the novel Rock Vagram. A man is a captured thing, captured by living matter, by the habits, customs, compulsions, and dreams of this living matter. A man means nothing. 2,000 million of him, living and dying at the same time, mean nothing. But no man lives who does not mean more than the sum of everything in books, for a man is a jackrabbit, running between capture and capture, a tiger in the circus, a lion in the zoo, a worm in the flower pot, a bat in the barn. All of him together mean nothing, but one at a time, a man means the sum of ever-growing meaning. He means business. He means doing, though there is nothing good to do, or bad to do, or fair to middling to do, except one thing: to love. To love his woman, his wife. To love her hair, her feet, her teeth. To love the nails of her fingers, her tonsils, her nose, ears, eyes, cheeks, neck, shoulders, arms, elbows, the soft hair of her skin, breasts, nipples, underarms, navel, flanks, thighs. All of her. Her speech, her laughter, her anger, her tears, her petulance, her imbecilities, her mother, her father, her son, her daughter. Man is a family thing. His meaning is a family meaning. A man comes from a long time ago and is on his way to a long time hence. He goes walking with his family, loitering along the way, looking for the daughters of the strangers, walking in the opposite direction with their families, falling back a little as one of them falls back, looking at the flowers she's looking at as she waits for him to fall upon her, waits to bite with love, to be bitten with love by him. Now, there's more to this, and I am going to read it. His secret, the secret of a man is being, just being. And his being is most truly being when he falls upon his woman. To kiss and hold fast, and to place into her all of his family from long ago, all of his time. To capture the unknown one, to bring him back to the grass and green of being. What good is it? It's no good at all, but it's better than nothing. There are good things. Sandwiches are good, thin sandwiches. The bath is a good thing. And what about philosophy? Will that help? No. The best philosophy is to open a can, and if there's anything good in it to eat it. What about religion? Will that help? No. But if it's time to sing a hosanna, sing it and let it not help, for it is better than nothing. If there's a red rose on a rose tree, pick it and give it to a loitering girl, for that is better than nothing. Is there anything at all to art? Will art help? No. But if it seems like a good idea to look at things carefully, although this will help nothing, look at things carefully, for that is art. That is what art is. And it is often a good idea to look at things carefully and to see them. This also is better than nothing. Well, what about being great? Wouldn't it be great to be great? Wouldn't it be great to be that great? No, but it is better than nothing, although it is no different and the same as not being great, the same as being a fool. For a man is a jackass with the heart of a lion, as he himself knows. A jackass with the heart of a lion, as he himself knows. This, too, is better than nothing. Now, what about music? Music is fine. A man ought to listen to music. Now, about jokes. What about them? Will the telling of jokes or the listening to the telling of jokes help? Yes. But this will come nearest to seeming to be something of value. It will not help truly, but it is better than nothing. Now, what about money? Will money help? No, but it's all right, and every man should collect Indian head pennies. Every man should have at least 2 or 3 Indian head pennies carefully collected. Is there something to be said for shoes? Yes, a man should wear shoes. It won't help, but it's better than nothing. A prosperous man should have a pair of black shoes and a pair of brown shoes. Now, is penmanship a nice thing? Penmanship is one of the nicest things there is. A man with a flair for penmanship can sit down and write a letter to somebody or his name and do it with flourishes. Penmanship is very nice. Many great men have had it, and their signatures are to be seen here and there, though they themselves are dead. There is a certain innocent confusion and absurdity and earnestness in penmanship, and it's better than nothing, too. And now, would swifter airplanes come in handy? No. Is there anything at all to the dropping of bombs more destructive than the atomic or H or I or J or K or L or M or N or O bombs? Yes, these should be dropped, especially the I and O ones. But this is not better than nothing. This is just pure. Dropping these bombs will not help, and is not better than nothing, but not dropping them would be to waste them, and they are expensive. The dropping should be pinpoint on the head of whoever it was that spoke so clearly. Now, wouldn't it be better if people were different? Wouldn't it be better if Russians were more Americanized and Americans were more Russianized? No, the theory that people should be different from apes is a false theory. There is nothing for apes and people to be different from. This also is better than nothing. Are eggs good? Yes, with salt and pepper. That sums up, as far as I am concerned, the greater part of the last italicized passage in the novel Rock for Grom. The last before, by accepting 3 or 4, which is so entirely irrelevant that it's scarcely worth bothering with. But I'll read an earlier one. This is a very short one, italicized. If a man and his friends are liars to one another, is their lying worth the trouble? For is it not impossible to be a liar after all? Is not the lie also the truth? Most writers are preoccupied with lies and truth, there's no doubt about that. And of course they are justified in being preoccupied. We'll take another little passage, moving back forward in the book. Is a man many men, or vagrant parts of many men, each part desperate with failure? Is he something in shoes which gets up and walks, all of the parts standing in his shoes? So that doesn't mean anything. But if anybody ever reads the book, it may, besides tiring him excessively, prove rather interesting. And I think that's all.